Hello, good evening. I'd like to say thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hello, Angelique. How are you? Um, let's see. I want to say to those people that have emailed me or placed an order or booked a reading since Friday, and I have not responded to you, rest assured that I will be getting those orders out Monday and Tuesday. I'm responding to emails Monday and Tuesday. Uh, I apologize. I was really out of it. Very, very tired this weekend and basically slept all day Friday, all day Saturday. And today I managed to get up and go for a walk and get things done. So I was just not able to get to everything yet, but I will. And then actually Wednesday and Thursday I'm going up to Colorado, so I'm hoping to get everything done Monday and Tuesday, if not Friday at the very latest. But anyhow, I want to say that what happened to me is I did a session on Friday and it was a beautiful session, but it wiped me out. And sometimes that happens. First of all, I channel for an hour, which is a long time to channel. And I'm thinking about cutting back my sessions to 45 minutes because it's just, unless you have channeled and you know what's involved, it does require a lot of energy. It's like when I went to go and teach high school, and I was nervous, of course, and I went in there and taught, 5 periods and dealt with all the kids and everything, and no one could tell me what that would be like until I did it. I mean, it was a lot of work and it was thoroughly exhausting, especially for first year teachers. And so that's kind of how channeling can be. Not all the time, but basically if you're pulling in some downloads from up above, from the Lemurian Mother Goddess or from the highest destinations and source, that comes through your body, and it can be a lot for your physical body to assimilate. And then if you are channeling a lot of different entities, and so I'm thinking about also numbering the entities that I channel in one session, because if you're channeling the Lemurian Mother Goddess and then you're channeling, a relative, and you're channeling this one, this entity's coming from there, this entity's coming from there, this entity's coming from there. I mean, it stretches you in all these different directions, and it's very, very tiring. So I'm thinking of limiting it to like 3 entities that individuals can talk to, because I literally was out of commission for 2.5 days. So it's not very glamorous to be a channel. Of course, it's my responsibility and I should know better. And I was very, very open intrinsically. So that's why I was not responding to emails, etc., etc. That being said, it was a beautiful session and I'm glad I did it, but I need to monitor really all the different entities that come in, how long they talk, and the different downloads, because although it's meant for the individual, which is beautiful and wonderful, it comes through my body, so I get the first hit of the energy. And let's just say maybe I need to curtail myself a little bit. So tonight I'm channeling the Lemurian Mother Goddess. Now I want to just say that I discovered not that long ago that her energy and her ray, because we all come in on different soul rays, different light streams, is pink. So she carries the pink light ray. And it was funny because I was designing my website, which took forever, and I spent a lot of time on it and it was going back and forth. But when I was coming up with the design for it and the colors, nothing seemed right. Like, it's like, no, that color's not right, that combination's not right, it's nice, but it's not right. And then it was the pink. The pink came in and I was like, that's it. And I'm not a pink person. I'm wearing pink in honor of her. These are really her colors, the orange and the pink like this, the tropical colors. Um, I'm not a pink person. I don't wear pink. It's not my favorite color, but I knew that that was the right color combination. So the boxes where the text is written on my way, it's all pink. And I was like, well, let's just go with it. It's a sacred feminine, but it's more than that. It's her ray, and it's the color that she comes in to our atmosphere in with. It's pink energetically. So there's always a reason. And I didn't even, I mean, it should have been obvious to me, but it wasn't. And, I just got that message not too long ago that she carries the pink ray. So I thought I would give you a taste of that energy tonight. So I'm not going to do like a super long channeling just because I'm about 80% recovered. I'm still pretty tired and I have a lot of work to do. So it's going to be a short channeling, but I do want to mention some things. Um, you know, I have access to people's information when they come to me or just in general. Like, for instance, I know a lot about people in my family, their karma, their soul history, etc., because they're in my family and I get glimpses of who they were before, etc., etc. Now, that being said, I want you to know that people, and I've said this before, but I need to say it again, people do not change. They do not change. So if there's a person out going around in 2021 and this person is a murderer or a rapist or a pedophile, I'm telling you right now, he's or she has been a murderer, a rapist, and a pedophile for thousands of years. Okay? People do not change. They engage in an activity. Initially they fell from grace. Initially we were pure angelic and we fell from grace and we came here and we followed the dark side because we came here, and this environment, this dimension is under the control of the dark side. And if you don't understand that, maybe contemplate that. Okay, it's a very dense environment and there's a lot of evil here. Okay, there's light here, but there's a lot of evil here. Same old for thousands of years. Oppression, abuse, just what I said, greed, cheating, stealing, all these things goes on and on and on. And even the most honest person, I'm telling you, the most honest person, the most upright person, they have their dark side. And they have done things that they are ashamed of. Everybody. There's no light being here without some dark, and there's no dark being here without some light. In fact, the dark ones, the career criminals, when they're interviewed, they usually say, "Oh yeah, the guy's a murderer, a racketeer, professional mobster, gangster." And when they're interviewed, they're like, "Oh yeah, I helped out this couple because they were paying protection money to these people, and they were upping their protection money, and people were coming in on their turf and extorting them, and I didn't like it, so I protected them." And they talk about how great they are, when really what they spent most of their time doing was accumulating money for themselves by killing people and racketeering. But I'm focusing on the negative for a reason. Number one, if a person is a murderer in 2021 and got away with it, maybe they pulled the plug on their stepfather in ICU because that person owed the stepfather money, and he just found out about it. Maybe it was stolen. That person has murdered before. Okay, I can guarantee you. It's very rare that someone comes in and starts doing dirty deeds out of nowhere. Basically what happens is people do it once, thousands of years ago, maybe in a fit of panic or anxiety. They they create the impression, and then when they come back, that impression's there. It starts to become a habit. They murder as a way to solve their problems. This person's getting really in my face, they're coming down on me really heavy, and so I'm just going to pull the plug. I'm going to kill them, and then my problem will be gone. And that's their solution. So they do it once, and then it builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up over lifetimes. They do it again and again and again, and it becomes a habit, and it becomes a solution to a problem, and it becomes ingrained. And it's ingrained in the soul. It's ingrained in the soul, okay? So what's the answer? What's the answer for people that have really dark sanskaras? Okay, sanskaras are nothing but impressions or actions that we've done in the past. How do we get rid of it? And how do we get rid of them? And how do we change? Well, usually what happens is if you're a murderer and you've killed this one and that one, eventually you're going to come around again, and it's going to be another lifetime, and you're going to be at the end of that gun, and that bullet's going to come into you. Okay, and it's somehow going to be tied into the relationships with the same souls that you killed in a previous lifetime. So let's say you killed your father-in-law or your stepfather in 2021 in America. Well, 1,000 years ago in Greece, you might have killed the same soul, but it was, a friend of the family's or something like that. So the same souls are interacting over and over again, but eventually you're going to be at the other end of the gun or, the plug or the situation, the knife, whatever it is. So it's like people just keep going in these cycles over and over and over again, because one time they're the murderer, one time they're getting murdered. So how to solve it? Well, the only way that you can really solve it is to have the sanskars pulled out of your body, the habits, the impressions, the way that you do things. And the best way to do that is to align yourself with an enlightened master or a living master on this plane of consciousness, or align yourselves with the living master on another plane of consciousness and give those sanskaras, even if you don't know what they are, up to them. I release it, I surrender it, I let it go. And if possible, they will take it and they will transmute it and send it to the light. Now, this is why it is so beneficial to get into a cleansing or meditation practice, which has a cleansing component with a living master. It's more powerful to work with a living guru, someone that's physically incarnated, than someone who's on the other side, because they're in the same dimension, they're in human form, even though they're not completely human, and they can help you from that level as well as the other levels. Unless you decide to do that and take the bull by the horns, you're going to come back with the same issues again and again and again and again and again. Whether it's, abuse, or maybe it's anger, or whatever it is, addiction. And so you have to be proactive and let these things come out of you and give them up to someone that can take them and transmute them. Number two, I want to say this, that not all the scumbags running around on earth, and I use that term, humorously, but not all the people running around on earth with these horrible addictions or mental illness or homelessness, or have, you would say, oh, that person, they were bad in their last life, because look at them in this life. Look at all the things that they're undergoing. Look at all that suffering that they have. They must have been a real scumbag before, right? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And this is why we cannot judge. Look, the darkness here was so dark for so long. Really, this is the devil's realm. And if you don't believe in the devil, I can say that's your prerogative, but I've dealt with that entity more than once. That individual exists, and is running the show, and all the evil ones report ultimately um, to that entity. And as a matter of fact, if you look at religions per se, I think Christianity has the best representation of what's really going on here and how it works, more than any other religion. Although they got the reincarnation part wrong, they don't understand that. They still understand, Christ and Lucifer and the fall and all. That's all true. Okay. And you can see it in the Indian the Indian epics, because Krishna was dealing with the demons, and Ram was dealing with the demons, and so was Shiva. Well, listen, it was just the devil with Indian terminology, okay? But that's really how it works here. But what I'm trying to say is that this dimension was so dark, so dense, and really almost impenetrable for such a long time, that the only way to loosen it up and to bring light here was the angels, okay, including the creator and all of the angels that volunteered for duty. This is hard duty down here. Said, listen, I'm going to go down and I'm going to do it. I'm going to help them, okay? So what happens is these angelics come down, they incarnate in a human body. They might be 100% pure before they come here. And they take on the schizophrenia. They take on the bipolarism. They take on sexual abuse. They take on pedophilia. They take on some really, really difficult situations in an attempt to break it up, loosen it up, bring it to the light, and transmute it to the light. So there are people walking around who are, hardcore addicts, homeless, etc., etc., but are really angels who came down into this dimension to transmute the energy and heal it. Now, sometimes they get stuck and they can't overcome, okay, because we don't remember the other side. They come here, they get stuck, and they are an alcoholic until the day they die. And what's really unfortunate is that when you come into the earth realm, into this dimension, man, karma applies. So if you have a life and you're drinking, you've got to come back and work off that karma. Get rid of the alcoholic tendencies until your soul can get liberated and you can move into higher dimensions. Many souls have gotten stuck here, and we're all trapped in the reincarnational cycle. But just know that usually people that are angels that are coming from the light realms, and individuals, masters, so on and so forth, oftentimes they bring in some really, really heavy stuff. Either they're born with disabilities or they're dealing with very heavy issues. And they decided that they would do that so that they could break it up for the collective humanity. So you can never really judge someone, really, because you don't know if it's their own doing or if they're kind of sacrificing themselves to help others. Could be both. But just want to reiterate that people do not change, and usually the ones that have been, murdering lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, it's their own doing, and they do not change. And they just come back and they do the same thing. And the only way they're going to change is when they turn their soul and their light and their life and their energy up to God, so that God can take the energy, Yeshua, can take that energy and work with it like putty in his hands. And you might have to go through a lot, but so that the sense scars can start getting broken up. So you might understand this already, but I just wanted to mention it because, people have some really heavy stuff going on, heavy sanskaras. And like I said, the best way to deal with it is a meditation practice, working with a living master, giving your so-called sins up to Yeshua. If you can't find a living master here, because let's face it, there's a lot of half-baked gurus here. What does that mean? It means they're not at the highest level of consciousness. They've attained something. Maybe they've attained some cities. They have some yogic powers, la-di-da, but they're not enlightened. They're not selfless. They're not in the business of selfless service. They're still ego-driven. So you've got to test your gurus. Okay, just like if you're on a spiritual path, you're going to get tested time and time again, no matter what path you're on. Okay. And like I said, if you have issues and you don't have a master and you don't have a meditation practice, I would say get in touch with Yeshua and hand that over to him fully, body, mind, and soul. And just let him take you to where it needs to go. You'll be guided, you'll be directed, and you know, myself, I dealt with some very heinous stuff, especially when I was younger. I mean, horrible stuff. And well, really throughout my whole life, but especially when I was younger. So I came from Satanism in my family. You don't even want to know. And I don't even like to go there, but there was a lot of stuff going down. But I feel like I was more the volunteer that came in to break up the energy. I don't feel like I had lifetimes and lifetimes of satanic practices. So, okay, so I'm going to bring in the Lemurian Mother Goddess, and she's going to bring in the pink ray, and hopefully she'll have a message, an uplifting message for you. I also want to say, do not get attached to the goings on out there, the chaos in the third dimension. Look, this government, the United States government, and governments in, Canada, England, whatever, they're not going to survive this shift of consciousness. They're out the door because they are corrupt and rotten at their core, and they are not going to survive. So putting your energy and your efforts and your attention on trying to make this system better or fix it, or you're upset because this group is victimized or that group is victimized. Let me tell you something, it's all karmic. And if someone's victimized, they were the victors and the ones oppressing in another lifetime. So I don't even go there. Because when people go there, they're playing God and they're judging, and you have no idea of this soul's history. None. And for instance, let me just point out an example. It is very unfortunate what happened to the Native Americans in America and Canada. Basically, they got wiped out. I mean, genocide. They were wiped out, killed, murdered, left for dead. Last 200 years, right? Everybody knows that, even though it's not in the history books. But what people don't know is, guess who lived here before the first Native Americans? Aborigines, Black individuals, like in Australia, like in Africa. And guess who wiped them out? It was the Mongolian tribes, and it was the first Native Americans that came over the land bridge, maybe, who knows, during the last ice age, 10, 12,000 years ago. They wiped out every single Aborigine in North and South America, black-skinned person, and took over the land. And the genocide that they just experienced in the last 200 years was a direct karmic result of them wiping out all the Black people thousands and thousands of years ago. So do not judge, because you don't know. This history we do know through fossil records and through just history. We can see the bones and who was here before. But obviously the Caucasians, the white people, they slaughtered all of the Native Americans, and it was a direct Karmic result because the Native Americans, their ancestors, killed all the Black people that lived in North and South America thousands of years ago. It was karmic retribution. I hate to say it, but that's the reality of it. So don't judge. The only thing that you can do is give up your own personal sanskaras to God and have them transmute them. And everybody else can just stay in their lane. Don't get involved in anybody's story or their victimization or whatever. Because guess what? I hate to say it, but if people are having issues, usually karmically they deserve it. And the only way is to, it's either a learning lesson or it's, getting rid of your karma, or you got to go through it so that you can rise and get higher. Okay. And don't judge anybody by their skin color, because guess what? You've been African American, you've been African, you've been Asian, you've been Indian, you've been everything. It's just so ridiculous, really. So all the racial stuff going on, just get over it. Let me tell you, lifetimes ago, I was Native American. I don't get that. Okay. So we all need to just take a step back and look from a higher and bigger and better perspective. Okay. All right. So I think I'm going to get off my soapbox now. So I'm going to bring in the Lemurian Mother Goddess, who of course has a higher vibration than I do, and she's going to transmit some energy to you tonight. Okay, so at this time, I would like to bring in my highest and best healing and channeling guides. I would like to bring in the archangels, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Ariel. I would like to bring in thousands upon thousands of warrior protection angels around everybody that's watching this video, myself, and anyone watching this live stream, or anyone watching the video at later times. Okay. I would like to invoke the presence of the Lemurian Mother Goddess, and I ask her to bring a message and a transmission of energy to the viewers this evening. Amen. Greetings, this is the Lemurian Mother Goddess, and I am very, very happy to be with you all here today. And yes, it is true that my energy is a soft pink light. You might consider it bubblegum pink, sometimes a little darker, sometimes a little lighter, but this is the energy in which I walk in your world. And this energy is meant to bring you solace, calm, peace. It is basically a balm around your hearts and minds so that you can have peace and calm and love and serenity, and so that you can forget all of the issues and problems going on in your world and in your individual lives. I came in as the Lemurian Mother Goddess oh so long ago in ancient Lemuria, and essentially that civilization was a hologram filled with angelics, Pleiadians, and different star seeds. It was a very lovely, beautiful experiment, and it existed on planet Earth in its own little bubble. We were separated and segregated from the rest of humanity, and we came here to bring in a high frequency of light, healing modalities. We came in to bring basically starseed technology. But the point was to bring that energy to the rest of humanity. So at one point, that bubble burst. There was a pinprick, you could say, and the bubble burst. And the Lemurians became one with the rest of humanity. So it is true that humans have Lemurian energies. They have Lemurian history and ancestry, and this was planned so that as many people as possible could have access to the reawakening Lemuria at this time, so that they could access the energy, the entities, technology, the industry, if you will, once again. And there will be a resurgence of the Lemurian culture, which was an oceanic, beautiful culture upon planet Earth, once you get to the higher dimensions, fifth dimension and beyond. Although we will tell you that when the Lemurian culture first came down, it was much higher in frequency than the fifth dimension. And so there will be a staircase, a stepping stone, or a ladder for individuals who are residing in the fifth dimension to go even higher, higher and higher and higher. And that is also part of the plan. So yes, we think things through. We're not perfect, and we do make mistakes, and we have to go with the flow or react in real time to present circumstances that change every single second. But for the most part, our agenda, our mission here is to help cleanse humanity of malefic and dark forces and entities, and to help them raise or rise to higher levels of consciousness. And when the Lemurian Mother Goddess incarnates and comes down and does this work, it is done on a global level. It is done on a mass scale. When the Lemurian Mother Goddess comes in as herself, you can rest assured that there will be a huge grand shift on the earth on a mass scale, because that is her role, that is her job, that is her agenda, and that is what I do. So I want you to know that this time is approaching, and the channel is correct in the explanation that please don't get distracted with all of the goings and froings in your world and all of the chaos and all of the upset that's going on. I think that you understand that this is happening as a karmic release. People are very agitated, they're very angry, they feel oppressed, they feel slighted upon, they feel victimized, and these feelings are coming up to be released, and oppressor and those oppressed are both being cleansed at the same time. So even though these are very difficult times to live through, understand that there's probably no time on earth that was a cakewalk, except for the beginning of ancient Lemuria, when we as a whole were segregated from the rest of Earth's societies. So you have been here, done that before, and you are well equipped to deal with the dissension in your world. Stay centered, stay grounded, stay in your lane, stay true to yourself. It does not mean that you can't help someone that needs help, but don't get so attached to another's suffering that it becomes yours. Your job is to transmute the suffering in this lifetime and to bring in as much light and love as possible and let yourself rise to the fifth dimension and beyond. Please understand that everybody's on their own path, their own trajectory. We would like it if everybody could go to the fifth dimension and beyond, but realistically, that's not going to happen. Everyone will go to the evolutionary place best suited for them. And that includes the people running the oppressive regimes in your governments, in your multinational corporations, in the cabal, in the Illuminati. Nothing escapes the eyes of the Lemurian Mother Goddess, and she knows who's who and what's what, and who's doing this and who's doing that. And yes, it is true that some of the darkest souls are beaming facades of pure light, but we see through it, and all of these individuals will be dealt with appropriately at the appointed time. Rest assured that we have love and compassion for all sentient life, but we are beholden to the karmic laws, the universal laws. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The only way that is circumvented is by an act of grace. So those individuals who have been engaged in very dark, you could say satanic activity, the chickens will come home to roost. They will not get away with their evil acts, and they will suffer on the other end of the spectrum. What they have dealt out, they will receive. And this is just karmic law. This is nothing that even I would circumvent. I just want you to know that do not fear that people will not receive their just desserts, or you could say the human word would be punishment for their evil acts. Everything comes out in the wash, and everything is accounted for by universal law, and this is how it is. So once again, we support you, we love you, we want you to focus on raising your vibration, whether you do that through chanting mantras or meditating or doing a type of cleanse, different forms of yoga. We want you to focus on raising your vibration and releasing all of the trauma and all of the karma and all of the pain and suffering, shedding those tears, getting rid of the anger, all of the abuse. We want you to focus on releasing it during these last days of ascension, releasing the sanskaras and bringing in more and more high light. So the vacuum that's created by releasing sanskaras is filled with a new energy, and that is the energy of Source. And I am, of course, the deity who will be incarnated during the next age or epoch of life here on Earth, and my ray is pink. And so I wanted you to experience my energy directly in your heart tonight. And so the channel is going to bring in a representation of this so that you can feel it. And it should feel soft, warm, feminine, loving, comforting. You should feel cozy. You should feel like a baby that's being held in its mother's arms. That is the best description of my energy. Just know that I love you, I support you, I ask you to call on me. I know that many of you are not familiar with me and my history, my energy, but know that I will be coming more known in the future. And so you are getting an early taste, an early example of who I am and what I am here to do. So without further ado, I ask that you open your hearts and your hands, open your minds and your thoughts, and the channel will bring my essence from her heart and hands into your heart and hands. And just bathe in this light. I love you all. Thank you. She is now channeling the pink ray into your bodies. And now the channel returns. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you for being here today, for listening to the channeled message, and for listening to my me lecturing on my soapbox, which I have to get on every now and then, or else this stuff gets all inside and I have to let it out. So I want to thank you for being here. I wish you well. Have a great week. And if you're looking for holiday gifts, I'm selling crystals and some other Lemurian merchandise. All right, so take it easy. Bye-bye.